Is Japan really safe? Hey guys, let me ask you something. Do you think Japan is a safe country? You know, lots of people think Japan is like super safe, one of the safest places in the world. But here's the thing, that's not exactly true. Something most people don't know is that about 10,000 foreign visitors actually die in Japan each year. Pretty shocking, right? I'm going to tell you about some of the dangerous sides of Japan and share some really important safety tips. Trust me on this. I was born and raised here, so watch this video carefully. And let's make sure you have a safe and amazing time in Japan. Chapter 1, Part 1, Traffic Accidents. Okay, first things first. When you come to Japan, you really need to watch out for traffic accidents. Get this, we have about 30,000 traffic accidents every year in Japan. That's like 83 accidents every single day. Crazy, right? See, Japan's pretty small, and we've got tons of people packed into our big cities. That means we've got these super narrow roads that get really busy. You might think, oh, this tiny street looks safe, no cars here. But nope, cars pop up everywhere in Japan. It might remind you of places like Thailand, Vietnam, or the Philippines. But here's the scary part. In Japan, drivers often zoom through these tiny streets at high speeds. That's what makes accidents here so dangerous. And here's another big problem. We've got lots of elderly drivers causing accidents. Japan's getting really old. We call it a super-aged society. But weirdly, we don't have many laws about older people driving. These older drivers often don't realize their reactions are slower than they used to be, and they can't see as well anymore. Some might even have early dementia and mix up the gas and brake pedals. Super dangerous. Let me tell you about this really tragic accident that happened near Ikebukuro Station in April 2019. An 87-year-old driver got confused and hit the gas instead of the brake. He killed a mom who was just 31 and her little 3-year-old daughter who were just walking on the sidewalk. 9 other people got badly hurt too. This happened at Ikebukuro Station. That's our 3rd busiest station in Japan, with about 2.3 million people using it every day. It became this huge deal in Japan because it showed how anyone could get hurt, even in places we think are safe, like sidewalks. And you know what's really frustrating? We still don't have clear laws to prevent this kind of thing. Chapter 1, Part 2, How to Stay Safe from Traffic Accidents. Look, in Japan, you could get caught up in a traffic accident even if you're being super careful. But don't worry, I've got some tips to help keep you safe. First up, be super careful with your luggage. I know those big suitcases can be a pain, but don't get so focused on dragging them around that you forget to watch for cars. Remember, your life is way more important than your stuff. Got kids with you? Keep those eyes glued on them. Kids can be pretty unpredictable, right? But also make sure you're not so focused on watching them that you forget to watch out for cars yourself. Gotta keep everyone safe. And please be careful on all roads in Japan. Our country's pretty small, so even tiny streets can have cars racing through them. Always assume a car might show up, even if you think it's impossible. Oh, and crosswalks. Don't assume every driver will follow the rules, even though most Japanese people are pretty good about that. At night, try to wear something reflective or glowing so drivers can see you better. Chapter 2, Part 1. Watch out for overcharging. Now, Japan's famous for being super welcoming to visitors. We call it omotenashi. But here's the thing, as we're getting more and more tourists, some not-so-nice businesses are trying to rip people off. They're targeting tourists by charging way more than they should for food and shopping. Pretty uncool, right? Chapter 2. Part 2. How to avoid getting scammed. Hey, don't worry though. I've got some great tips to help you avoid these scams. Your best bet. Stick to the well-known stores. Places like Sukiya, Yoshinoya, Muji, Oniko, Kurazashi, Matsuya, Don Quixote, and 7-Eleven. These big chains have computer systems that keep their prices fair for everyone. And here's a super important tip. Always check the prices before you buy anything. If a place doesn't show their prices clearly, that's kind of a red flag. Like, sure, some fancy restaurants are expensive, but you should be able to tell if you're getting your money's worth. You know what I mean. Chapter 3, Part 1. Crime in Japan. Okay, let's talk about something serious. Crime. In Japan, we have about 700,000 crimes every year. That works out to about 1,900 crimes every single day. Things have been getting tougher in Japan's economy lately, and sad to say, that's led to more crime. Both Japanese people who can't find work and some foreign workers who aren't making enough money are turning to crime. We're even seeing more violent crimes happening because of money troubles. Pretty scary stuff. Here's something wild. Criminals these days are different from before. They're not even super worried about getting caught anymore. Some of them are like, okay, I'll hide the money, get arrested, and then get it back when I'm released. This is giving our police a real headache. Even though they're super good at their job, you especially need to watch out in crowded places like airports and busy downtown areas. Pickpockets love spots where there are lots of tourists. Chapter 3, Part 2. Staying safe from crime. But don't worry, I've got your back. Here's how to stay safe when you're in crowded places. Keep your eyes peeled and your stuff close to you. Those busy airports and train stations, that's where thieves love to hang out. Try to avoid walking alone down dark, narrow streets. I know sometimes you can't help it, but if you have to, here's a cool trick. Pretend you're on the phone and talk really loud. Bad guys usually don't want to mess with someone who's being noisy and alert. Chapter 4, Part 1. Typhoon Alert. Alright, let me tell you about typhoons. They're no joke in Japan. We get them from mid-June to mid-November, but they're especially common from late July through late September. Would you believe we get about 30 to 50 typhoons every year? Some of these can be super dangerous. And here's the thing, Japan is 75% mountains, which means when it rains hard, we can get some really scary flooding and river overflows. Chapter 4, Part 2. Staying safe during typhoons. Listen up, cause this is important. When a typhoon's coming, keep checking those weather forecasts. And please stay away from the ocean and rivers, even if they look calm. Here's something tricky about Japan's rivers. They can suddenly overflow because of rain way up in the mountains. Even if you're nowhere near where the typhoon is, and I know your travel schedule is important, but you know what's more important? Your life. Recent typhoons have been getting stronger because of climate change, so we've gotta take them seriously. Chapter 5, Part 1. The Language Barrier. Here's another thing you should know. Most Japanese people don't speak much English. I know. It's kind of embarrassing for us, but it's something you need to be prepared for. especially in emergency situations. And lately, people here have gotten a bit careful about helping strangers because some bad guys have been pretending to need help to trick people. I hate to say it, but that's just how things are these days. Chapter 5, Part 2. But don't worry, just shout, "Help me!" But hey, here's some good news. Even though most Japanese people don't speak English, almost everyone knows what "help me" means. So if you're ever in trouble, just shout it as loud as you can. The louder you shout, the more likely someone will come help you out. Chapter 6. Food allergies. Be careful. Now, Japanese food is amazing, but if you've got food allergies, you need to be extra careful here. A lot of our dishes have ingredients you might not expect, and most restaurants don't have to show allergy information. Crazy, right? The fancy restaurants might ask about allergies, but at chain restaurants, most of the food is made in big central kitchens. Sometimes even the staff don't know exactly what's in everything. Plus, we love serving things raw or lightly cooked, which might not agree with everyone's stomach. If you've got serious allergies, make sure to tell the staff before ordering. Maybe stick to places with clear menus, and it might be smart to carry a card that explains your allergies in Japanese. Chapter 7. Our awesome police. Good news! Japanese police are super helpful and really good at their job. You can find these little police boxes called Koban near most stations. Now, most police officers aren't great at English, but don't let that stop you. They often use translation apps on their phones to help talk with foreign visitors. Sometimes a Koban might be empty because we're a bit short on staff these days. But don't worry, there's always a phone inside you can use to call for help. Or you can just dial 110. The emergency line usually has people who can speak different languages. Chapter 8. About our ambulances. If you need an ambulance, the number to call is 119. But here's something you need to know. Our hospitals are pretty crowded these days, especially because Japan has so many elderly people. The truth is, we're seeing fewer and fewer hospitals that can handle serious injuries and illnesses. So even if you call an ambulance, it might take a while to arrive because they're so busy. They might decide your case isn't urgent enough, or they might have trouble finding a hospital that can take you. I know that sounds scary, but I just want you to be prepared. Our medical technology is top-notch. But yeah, sometimes it can be hard to access it quickly. Chapter 9. Super important. Check your phone. Before you come to Japan, make sure your phone can call our emergency numbers. 110 for police, 119 for ambulance. These aren't regular phone numbers. They use special emergency lines. Some phone plans, even Japanese ones, might not work with these numbers. So double check before you come and keep these numbers somewhere easy to find. So, what did you think? You might have this image of Japan being super safe, and I get it. But the reality is a bit different. The dangers you're used to back home? Yeah, we've got those here in Japan too. And with our rapid climate changes and all the ways our society is shifting, the risks are always changing too. But hey, don't let this discourage you. We really want you to have a safe and fantastic time in Japan. That's exactly why we're making these videos, to help you stay safe while having the best time possible. And guess what? We're going to keep making more videos to help you fall in love with Japan, because that's our goal. We want you to experience all the amazing things Japan has to offer, just in a safe way. Have an amazing trip to Japan, everyone! Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.